The signal from the dark. The bridge of the UES Harbinger hummed with quiet efficiency as Captain Alina Reyes studied the blinking anomaly on her command console. For the past 3 hours, the same pattern had been repeating. 3 quick pulses, 2 long, 3 quick again. Universal distress code. Someone out there needed help. How far? She asked, not looking up from the display. Commander Davids, her executive officer, consulted his station. Approximately 14 light hours, Captain. It's coming from the edge of the Carina Nebula, technically unclaimed space, but within spitting distance of Zenith Coalition territory. Reyes finished for him. She straightened, feeling the weight of command settling across her shoulders. The Harbinger wasn't just any vessel. It was humanity's most advanced warship, a kilometer-long marvel of human ingenuity and firepower. A dangerous ship, as the crew had taken to calling it. Communications, any response from Earth Command. Lieutenant Park shook her head, her fingers dancing across the console. Still waiting, Captain. Transit delay is significant at our current position. Reyes nodded. 14 light hours meant at least a day before Earth Command could analyze the situation and send orders. Meanwhile, someone might be dying out there. Science Officer Chen, what do we know about that region? Reyes asked, turning to the slight woman whose dark eyes rarely missed anything. Chen brought up a holographic map of the sector. Minimal exploration, Captain. Survey ships avoided it due to strong gravimetric distortions. The Zenith claim it as a spiritual preserve, but they haven't established any permanent outposts there. Convenient, Reyes muttered. The Zenith Coalition, 8 alien species united under a religious political framework, had been expanding steadily toward Earth-controlled space for decades. Relations weren't hostile, but they weren't friendly either. Captain, Park interrupted. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. The main view screen shifted to show Admiral Cactry's turned face. Captain Reyes, we've analyzed the distress signal. Its pattern is consistent with the Universal Emergency Code, but there's something unusual about its transmission characteristics. It's using quantum-folded channels that shouldn't be accessible to anyone but us or the Zenith. Reyes felt her skin prickle. Orders, sir. Investigate, but proceed with extreme caution. The Harbinger was built for this kind of situation. First contact with unknown entities while maintaining Earth's security posture. If this is some kind of Zenith trap, I want the most dangerous ship in the fleet to be the one that springs it. And if it's genuinely someone in distress. Admiral Cactry's expression softened slightly. Then you render assistance, Captain. We're still human, after all. Understood, Admiral. Harbinger out. The screen returned to the starfield. Reyes turned to her navigation officer. Lieutenant Rivera, plot a course to the signal's origin. Maximum safe speed. Course plotted, Captain. ETA 16 hours at warp 8. Execute. The Harbinger's massive engines pulsed as the ship slipped into warp, the stars stretching into streaks of light outside the viewports. Reyes retreated to her ready room, poring over the limited data they had on the region. Something about this didn't feel right. A distress signal at the edge of contested space, using technology that shouldn't exist outside of Earth or Zenith control. Hours later, as they approached the coordinates, Reyes called her senior staff to the briefing room. We drop out of warp in 30 minutes, she began. I want all systems at full readiness. Shields up the moment we transition to normal space. Weapons on standby. But no targeting locks unless I give the order. We're answering a distress call, not starting a war. What if it's a trap? Security Chief Ortiz asked, his hand unconsciously resting on the sidearm he always carried. Then we spring it carefully, Reyes replied. The Harbinger can handle herself. When they dropped out of warp, the scene that greeted them was chaos. A massive vessel, unlike any design they'd encountered before, drifted in space. Its hull was punctured in multiple places, atmosphere venting in crystalline plumes. Around it, smaller ships, 7 in total, darted like predators circling wounded prey. Scan that larger vessel, Rise ordered. Chen worked her console rapidly. It's incredible, Captain. Nearly twice our size, but the construction isn't like anything in our database. I'm detecting life signs aboard. Hundreds of them, but fading. Their life support is critical. And those attackers? Unknown configuration, heavily armed. There? Chen paused, looking confused. They're extracting something from the larger ship, some kind of energy transfer. Reyes didn't hesitate. Tactical, warning shot across the bow of the nearest attacker. Communications, broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the UES Harbinger. Cease your attack immediately. The Harbinger's main cannon discharged, a brilliant beam of energy that sliced through space just meters from one of the attacking vessels. The effect was immediate. All 7 ships broke off their attack, reorienting toward the Harbinger. They're powering weapons, Captain. Tactical Officer Wang shouted. Shields to maximum. Evasive pattern delta. The first salvos from the unknown ships splashed against the Harbinger's shields, the energy dissipating in ripples of blue light. Rise felt a surge of pride. The Harbinger had been built to withstand far worse. Return fire. Target their propulsion systems only. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The Harbinger's weapons arrays came to life, lancing out with precision that belied the ship's size. 2 of the attacking vessels immediately lost engine power, tumbling through space. The others scattered, moving with a coordination that spoke of shared consciousness or incredibly advanced battle networks. Captain, I'm detecting a transmission from the damaged vessel, Park said urgently. I think it's trying to communicate with us. On screen. The view screen filled with a being unlike any Reyes had seen before. Its face, if it could be called that, was a shifting constellation of luminous points against a backdrop of deep indigo. When it spoke, the translator struggled for several seconds before producing halting English. Human vessel. Gratitude. Intervention. We are Valyrians. Those who attack. The Nexus Collective. They feed on our psychic energy. We received your distress signal, Reyes said. We're here to help. The Valyrians' lights pulsed. No signal. Sent by us. Trap. Meant for you or Zenith. Reyes felt cold realization wash over her. It was a lure. They hunt. Technological species. You, particularly interesting to them. Your ship, unique design. Before Reyes could respond, Wang called out, Captain, the remaining attackers are retreating. There. He stopped, staring at his console. They're sending a message, audio only. Let's hear it. A voice, mechanical and multi-toned, filled the bridge. Interesting intervention, humans. Your vessel's capabilities have been noted. The Nexus Collective acknowledges your species as worthy of harvest. We will return in greater numbers. Prepare yourselves for ascension. The attacking ships accelerated suddenly, disappearing into what Chen described as some kind of spatial fold that their sensors couldn't properly analyze. Captain, the Valyrian transmitted. Our vessel. Critical condition. Many wounded. Dying. Reyes made her decision. Commander Davids, prepare a boarding party. Medical, engineering, and security teams. We're going to help them stabilize their ship. Captain, Chen interrupted. I'm detecting unusual technology aboard the Valyrian vessel. Some of it reads similar to Zenith quantum matrices, but far more advanced. Reyes paused, considering the implications. If the Valyrians possessed technology that outstripped both human and Zenith capabilities, helping them could alter the balance of power in the sector. But if they abandoned them now, they'd be no better than the Nexus Collective. Maintain our course, she decided. We'll render assistance and worry about the politics later. The boarding party, led by Commander Davids, reported scenes of devastation aboard the Valyrian ship. The aliens themselves were even stranger in person. Their bodies seemed partly corporeal and partly composed of organized energy, shifting between states in ways that defied human understanding of biology. Captain, Davids transmitted from deep within the alien vessel. "You need to see this." His helmet camera showed what appeared to be a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light. At the center stood something that made Rise's breath catch, a perfect replica of a Zenith temple ship, suspended in a field of energy. "What is this?" she asked the Valyrian representative who had accompanied Davids. "Knowledge. Acquisition," the alien explained. "We study all species. Understand their essence." Chen leaned close to Rise, whispering, "Captain, if they can replicate Zenith technology with this level of fidelity, imagine what they could do with access to the Harbinger." Rise nodded slightly, suddenly aware they might have stumbled into something far more complex than a simple rescue mission. The Nexus Collective, the Valyrians, the Zenith, and now humanity, all converging at this point in space, drawn by a signal that was both bait and warning. "Commander," she transmitted to Davids, "continue rendering medical assistance, but maintain security protocols. I want to know everything about their propulsion and weapons systems." As the Harbinger maintained position alongside the massive Valyrian vessel, Rise couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, not just by the retreating Nexus ships, but by something else, something hidden in the swirling gases of the nearby nebula. She stared at the view screen, at the damaged alien ship and the stars beyond, knowing that the next few hours would determine whether they'd just prevented a tragedy or unwittingly ignited an interstellar war. The Nexus Collective would return, that much was certain. And when they did, the dangerous ship would need to be ready. Alliance of necessity. Captain Alina Rise watched the holographic display with growing concern as Commander Davids continued his exploration of the Valyrian vessel. Each new discovery raised more questions than answers. The Valyrians possessed technology that seemed decades, perhaps centuries, beyond what humanity had achieved. And yet they had been helpless against the Nexus Collective's attack. "Captain," Chen reported from her science station, "I've analyzed the data from Commander David's scans. The Valyrians appear to be collectors of knowledge and technology, but they lack the aggressive instinct to weaponize most of it effectively." Rise nodded. That aligned with what she was seeing. Peaceful archaeologists caught in someone else's war. "Not archaeologists," came a melodic voice from behind her. Rise turned to find a Valyrian had somehow transported onto the bridge. Its body pulsed with indigo light, points of luminescence shifting to form a roughly humanoid shape. "We are custodians." Security officers immediately raised their weapons, but Rise held up a hand. "Stand down. I assume you're a representative." "I am Nexus of Understanding," the Valyrian said, its translator now functioning more smoothly than before. "We have integrated your language patterns. Forgive the intrusion, but time grows short. You said you're custodians. Of what?" The Valyrian's lights pulsed in what Rise was beginning to recognize as their equivalent of a sigh. "Of knowledge that must not be lost. We have existed for millions of your years, observing the rise and fall of civilizations throughout this galactic arm. We preserve what would otherwise be forgotten, including Zenith technology. The Zenith are young, barely 30,000 years as a collective. Their technology is merely an adaptation of what came before." Chen approached cautiously, scanner in hand. "You said time grows short. The Nexus Collective. They're coming back, aren't they?" "Yes. In much greater numbers." The Valyrian's form rippled. "The Nexus are consumers. They assimilate the psychic energy of sentient species, along with their technological achievements. They were once like us, collectors, but they grew impatient with observation." "Why did they retreat?" Rise asked. "Our scans showed their weapons could have overwhelmed us if they'd coordinated their attack. They did not expect your intervention. Your vessel's capabilities surprised them, particularly your willingness to engage without provocation. They withdrew to analyze and adapt." Rise felt a chill. The Harbinger was humanity's most advanced warship, But if the Nexus returned with a fleet designed specifically to counter it, how much time do we have? Less than one of your planetary rotations. They will bring harvesters. Before Reyes could respond, Lieutenant Park called out from communications, "Captain, priority transmission from Earth Command." The Admiral's face appeared on screen, lines of worry etched deeply around his eyes. "Captain Reyes, our long-range sensors have detected a large formation of unknown vessels converging on your position. You are ordered to withdraw immediately and return to Earth space." Reyes glanced at the Valyrian, then back to the Admiral. "Sir, we've made first contact with a species called the Valyrians. They're being hunted by another race, the Nexus Collective, that poses a significant threat to Earth's security. All the more reason to withdraw, Captain. The Harbinger is too valuable to risk in someone else's war." The Valyrian stepped forward, its lights pulsing rapidly. "Human Admiral, if your ship leaves, the Nexus will harvest our knowledge, including everything we have collected about your species from our brief interaction. They will know your weaknesses, your home coordinates, your technological limitations." Admiral Katri frowned. "And who might you be?" "One who has watched civilizations fall to the Nexus for longer than humanity has wielded metal tools." A tense silence followed. Finally, the Admiral spoke. "Captain Reyes, I'm modifying your orders. You are to neutralize any threat to Earth security posed by either of these alien species. If that means helping the Valyrians, so be it. If it means disabling their vessel to prevent technology transfer, that's also authorized." "Understood, Admiral." After the transmission ended, Reyes turned to the Valyrian. "It seems we have a common enemy. Can your ship be made combat-ready?" "Our vessel was not designed for warfare, Captain. We observe, we collect, we preserve." But the Valyrian's lights dimmed slightly. "We have accumulated many weapons technologies. With your engineers' assistance, perhaps some could be implemented." "Commander Davids," Reyes transmitted to the boarding party, "focus on helping the Valyrians adapt any defensive technology they have. Chief Engineer Patol will join you with additional teams." Over the next several hours, human and Valyrian worked side by side. The aliens proved to be quick studies of human tactical thinking, while the human engineers marveled at the adaptability of Valyrian systems. Weapons that had existed only as theoretical models in the aliens' vast database were rapidly brought online, integrated into their vessel's unique energy framework. "Captain," Chen reported, "long-range sensors detecting multiple spatial distortions approaching our position. Estimated time of arrival, 43 minutes. Reyes nodded grimly. "All hands to battle stations." "Commander Davids, status of the Valyrian defenses." "Operational, Captain, but untested. They implemented something they call a phase shield that theoretically should counter the Nexus energy-draining weapons. Theoretically, it's the best we can do with the time we have, ma'am." Reyes turned to Nexus of Understanding, who had remained on the bridge. "Your people have survived millions of years by observing and adapting. Today, you'll need to fight." "We understand the necessity," the Valyrian replied, its lights pulsing in patterns that seemed almost determined. "We have transmitted all our knowledge of the Nexus to your systems. We will follow your tactical lead, Captain Reyes of the dangerous ship." The first of the Nexus vessels emerged from spatial folds 38 minutes later, massive, angular constructs that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Unlike the smaller attackers from before, these were clearly warships, bristling with weapons emplacements, and protected by shields that distorted the space around them. 23 hostile vessels detected, Tactical Officer Huang reported, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. "Nexus Collective is hailing us, Captain," Park said. On screen, the view screen displayed a being that sent a wave of instinctive revulsion through Reyes. It appeared humanoid but wrong, as if someone had constructed a person from mismatched parts, with too many joints and eyes that moved independently of each other. When it spoke, its voice resonated at multiple frequencies simultaneously. "Human vessel and Valyrian collectors, We offer you assimilation. Your unique attributes will be preserved within the collective consciousness. Resistance will only damage the valuable resources you represent. Reyes stepped forward. This is Captain Reyes of the United Earth Ship Harbinger. We decline your offer. The Valyrians are under our protection, and we are prepared to defend them and ourselves. The Nexus being's face contorted in what might have been amusement. Protection. You cannot comprehend what we are. Human. Your species has barely emerged from planetary constraints. The Valyrians hide behind their collection, never using the power they accumulate. We are the rightful inheritors of all knowledge. Perhaps, Reyes acknowledged, but there's something you should understand about humans. We don't need millions of years of collected knowledge to fight effectively. We've been perfecting the art of warfare against each other for our entire history. She signaled to cut the transmission. Huang, initiate attack pattern Epsilon. Commander Davids, coordinate with the Valyrian vessel. I want their phase shields protecting our flanks while we drive straight into the Nexus formation. Captain, Chen objected. Their numbers are irrelevant if our strategy works. Reyes finished. The Nexus expects us to form a defensive perimeter around the Valyrian ship. Instead, we're going to split their formation and force them to fight on two fronts. The battle began with a massive energy discharge from the lead Nexus vessel, a beam of sickly green light that seemed to distort reality itself as it approached. But instead of impacting the Harbinger's shields, it splashed against an invisible barrier several kilometers out, the Valyrian phase shield, now operating in harmony with human defense systems. Forward batteries, fire, Reyes ordered. The Harbinger's main cannons discharged, striking the Nexus lead ship directly at its central axis. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien vessel's shields collapsed, and a secondary volley tore through its hull, sending cascading explosions across its surface. One down, Wang reported, unable to keep a note of satisfaction from his voice. Don't celebrate yet, Reyes cautioned. Execute the split maneuver now. The Harbinger accelerated directly toward the heart of the Nexus formation, weapons firing continuously in a precise pattern that forced the alien vessels to scatter. Meanwhile, the Valyrian ship, now partially armed thanks to human engineering, moved to engage the left flank of the Nexus armada. What followed was the most intense space battle in human history. The Nexus ships were individually more powerful, but they fought like a hive mind, lacking tactical flexibility when their formation was disrupted. The Harbinger, designed for independent action, darted between enemy vessels, its advanced point defense systems intercepting incoming fire, while its main batteries targeted critical systems on the Nexus ships. The Valyrians, despite their peaceful nature, proved remarkably adaptable to warfare. Their vessel, guided by humans aboard, utilized technologies the Nexus had never encountered, weapons and defenses gleaned from extinct civilizations that had fallen millennia ago. Captain, our port shields are failing. Wang called out as the Harbinger shuddered under concentrated fire from 3 Nexus warships. Rotate us 30 degrees. Transfer power from non-essential systems, Reyes ordered, gripping her command chair as the ship lurched violently, and tell the Valyrians to deploy their temporal disruptors. A moment later, the 3 Nexus ships attacking their flanks seemed to slow, their movements becoming sluggish as the Valyrian weapon distorted the time field around them. The Harbinger's guns made quick work of their suddenly vulnerable targets. Nexus fleet down to 11 vessels, Chen reported. They're regrouping, attempting to reform their line. Not going to happen, Reyes said. Huang, quantum torpedoes, full spread. Target their command ship. The torpedoes, humanity's most advanced weapons, capable of briefly phasing through conventional shields, streaked toward the largest remaining Nexus vessel. 4 were intercepted by defensive fire, but 3 reached their target, detonating in synchronized pulses that tore the massive ship apart from within. Captain, Park called out urgently. The Nexus are broadcasting some kind of signal directly to the Valyrian ship. It's bypassing their communications array, targeting their knowledge cores. On the main view screen, Rise watched in horror as parts of the Valyrian vessel began to darken, sections of its living hull going dormant as the Nexus signal corrupted its systems. "Nexus of understanding. What's happening?" she demanded. The Valyrian's lights flickered weakly. "They have found resonance frequency of our memory structures. They are extracting not just data, but our essence." Reyes made a split-second decision. "Chen, can we jam that signal?" "Not conventionally, but..." The science officer worked frantically at her console. "If we detonate a quantum torpedo directly between the ships, the subspace distortion might disrupt the carrier wave." "Do it." The torpedo detonated in a silent flash that rippled through subspace, temporarily distorting sensors across all vessels. When systems recovered, the Nexus signal had been broken. "Valyrian ship is stabilizing," Davids reported from his position aboard the alien vessel. "But they've lost approximately 30% of their knowledge stores." The remaining Nexus ships, now outnumbered and outmaneuvered, began to retreat, folding away into spatial distortions that human sensors couldn't track. Within minutes, the battlefield was clear except for the Harbinger and the damaged Valyrian vessel. In the aftermath, as repair crews worked to stabilize both ships, Reyes met with Nexus of Understanding in the Harbinger's conference room. "Your intervention saved much of our accumulated knowledge," the Valyrian said, its lights now steady and bright. "In millions of years, no species has ever fought to protect us before. Humans tend to root for the underdog," Reyes replied with a tired smile. "And we don't appreciate bullies, even interstellar ones. The Nexus will return eventually. They are persistent. And we'll be ready." Reyes leaned forward. "But I think both our peoples have something to learn from this encounter. You've collected knowledge for eons without using it to protect yourselves. We humans have a habit of developing weapons first and asking questions later." The Valyrians' lights shifted in what Reyes was beginning to recognize as their version of contemplation. "Perhaps there is wisdom in balance. We have observed that the most successful species are those who know both when to preserve and when to act." "Captain," Chen interrupted over the comm, "Earth Command is hailing us. They've detected the Nexus retreat and want a full report." Reyes stood. "Tell them we've made new allies today, ones with a very long memory and a lot to teach us." As she prepared to address her superiors, Reyes looked out the viewport at the massive Valyrian vessel floating alongside the Harbinger. Two ships from entirely different evolutionary paths, brought together by chance and necessity. One dedicated to preservation, the other designed for protection. Both now changed by their encounter. The dangerous ship had lived up to its name, but in doing so, it had perhaps started something far more important than another war. It had forged the first true alliance between humanity and an ancient race, opening doors to knowledge and technology that could transform human civilization. And somewhere out in the darkness, the Nexus Collective was regrouping, adapting, preparing for their next attempt. But when they returned, they wouldn't face a peaceful collector species or an isolated human warship. They would face the combined strength of two civilizations, learning from each other's strengths. That, Reyes thought, would be a battle worth seeing.